Don't you ever start your fitness journey without doing these two simple steps. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 3 of the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Fitness. If you haven't yet, get the ebook down in the description below. Hit the link, it'll let you download the ebook. We're going to go over in a little more detail today. And today, we're going to talk about going over your self assessment and a physical assessment from a primary care doctor. So let's get right into it. Conducting a thorough physical examination is crucial before starting any fitness journey. I don't care who you are, where you're at in your fitness journey, you need to do a self assessment and go ahead and get a health check from your doctor. This assessment is going to help you understand where you're currently at in your fitness journey. Because let's be honest, if you're just now starting, you probably have no clue where you're at. So you need to get a base understanding. So that's what we're going to start with today. You want to be able to identify areas of improvement, your strength, your flexibility, and your cardiovascular health. So that's where we're going to get a base understanding in this self assessment. Number one, we're starting with a strength assessment. So, some tools that you can use when trying a strength assessment is first and foremost, use body weight exercises. These are a great tool to get a good understanding of where you're at. You want to perform exercises such as push ups, squats, lunges, planks. These are all good body weight exercises that's going to give you a good idea of how strong you are without having to use any kind of weights. Speaking of weights, another good thing is to use resistance bands or even some weights, dumbbells, light weights to get you started. I suggest using a resistance band starting out, but then migrate to using weights so you can do bicep curls, shoulder presses, and rows. These are good exercises to give you a good base understanding of how strong you are. And then next is strength machines. I think these are great, especially for beginners, because they don't allow a lot of room for injury. So I would start here because on a machine, it normally only has one path that you can follow. So it's going to keep you from getting injured because there's not free weights falling all over the place that can easily get you hurt. So using the machines is a great place for beginners to start because it allows for you to develop that technique when you're first starting out. This way it prevents injury. You're not setting yourself back from the get-go. So steps to take, you want to start with push-ups and see how many push-ups you can do. Just rep them out, body weight, as many as you can do, all the way down, all the way back up. No, we're not cheating on our knees. We're doing a real push-up. Determine the maximum number of push-ups that you can perform with, and this is the key, with proper technique. Don't just be flopping all over the place. Do it with proper technique because that's going to give you your starting number, and then we're going to build from there. Next, you want to perform the squat. If you're very, very beginner, honestly, you could just do body weight squats. Or if you know you're a little more advanced or you know you're a little stronger, you can actually use a bar, say 135, maybe 225, depending on where you're at. You know how much you can do. But if you're super beginner, start with body weight squats. See how many you can do with proper technique. And you want to focus on your hip and your knee alignment. Make sure these are key when doing the squats because you can injure yourself doing these. And then other than that, just use weights and resistance bands to do some of your other favorite exercises or do some of the other basic ones that you see in the gym all the time to give you a good understanding of how strong you actually are and where you need to start at. But with that being said, no, I'm not telling you go in there and just max out on every lift because that's not necessary. Instead of doing a 1 rep max, try doing maybe a 5 or a 10 rep max, and that'll give you a better understanding because you don't want to hurt yourself from the get go. Doing a 1 rep max, putting a lot of weight on the bar, you're prone to injury that way. Just get a good base understanding. You don't have to go overboard. You just want to know what you can do and where you're starting at. That way, you know if you've made progress. You know if you've built on that number or not. Number two, the next assessment, you want to do a flexibility assessment. This one's big as we get older, as we start aging. So when it comes to the flexibility assessment, we're going to use static stretches for our flexibility assessment. I don't think there's really any purpose of using dynamic stretches here. Static stretches are going to give us a good idea of where we're starting at. Static stretch is just when you're standing still, stretching your muscle, like bending over, touching your toes. That's static. Dynamic stretching is doing more of like a warm up, like loosening, swinging your legs, loosening up your hips, things like that. So there's a difference. We're going to start with static stretching when doing this flexibility assessment. A simple one you can start with is just putting your feet together, bending over, trying to touch your toes, see how far you can go. That's a good base level one to start with. Another one, hamstring stretch, sit down on your butt, put your feet together, legs extended, and reach toward your toes. This is going to be a very hard one, especially for us men out there. This is going to give us a good idea of where we're starting at. Next, you want to do a shoulder stretch. So extend one arm, put it across your chest, and pull it towards the other side of your body with your other arm. And then next, you want to stretch your quad. So we're going to do a quadricep stretch. Stand on one leg and bring the other heel to your butt, pulling it with your arm, with your opposite arm, and pull it as tight as you can. And if you have to, hold on to something with your opposite hand. This way you can balance yourself, but still stretch that heel all the way to your butt. These are just a few basic stretches. There's plenty more. I suggest doing as many as you can. All the stretches that you did as a kid growing up in PE, wherever, playing sports. Get a good idea of how flexible you are first starting out. This is going to show you areas that you need to improve on. If you're super tight in a certain muscle group, that's going to be one that you want to work on more. That's going to be one that you want to make sure you really warm up before you do a lift. Say your hamstrings are tight, you're going to want to make sure you really loosen up the hamstrings before you do legs. For me, it's my hips. My hip flexors are super tight. So anytime I do leg day, I really make sure to get a really good warm up on my hip flexors to make sure they're nice and warm and loose and ready to go. The third fitness assessment you're going to do is the cardiovascular assessment. So you want to choose activities like running, cycling, and doing jumping jacks. These are good cardiovascular tests when you're first starting out, and they're pretty beginner friendly as well. So the first test you can do is a 1 mile run/walk test. Time yourself while running or walking a mile. And what you want to do is note the time that it took you to complete the mile, and also note the exertion level. How hard was it? Are you gasped? Are you dying? Could you run another one? Like, how do you feel? Rate it on a scale from 1 to 10. Another test that you can do is a step up test. So do a 3-minute step up test. Step up and down off of a raised platform for 3 minutes. And then immediately after the test, measure your heart rate. Use either a watch, heart rate monitor, whatever. Measure your heart rate right afterwards. And then when you're recovering later on, test your heart rate again and see how that changes, how it fluctuates. So those are just some basic cardiovascular tests. There's plenty more that you can do, but those are just pretty beginner friendly, simple ones that you can do when you're first starting out. Moving on, some general tips when you're doing your self assessment. Consult with the professional. If you need to, talk with a personal trainer, talk with your doctor, somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that has experience. Talk with them, let them know your results of your self assessment, let them know your goals, what you're trying to do, and they can kind of lead you down the right path as well. Or if you're uncertain about performing a certain self assessment that we just talked about, or another one that you've heard of, and you don't know how to do it, where to do it, or what metrics to measure, then this is where it's good to ask a professional as well, and they can help you out and tell you what to do. They may even have their own suggestions that you should do as well. The main idea of doing all these assessments is you want to record your baseline measurements. So keep track of your initial strength, your initial flexibility, your initial. So this way you can monitor your progress over time. This is going to allow you to see if you've made progress, if you're hitting those goals that you've made for yourself. It's going to give you a good base understanding. So that's why it's key to measure these before you ever get started so you have something to build off of. Also, you want to focus on form. Form is huge. Technique is critical when you're first starting out, because if not, you will hurt yourself. And then if you hurt yourself, you're not going to be able to go to the gym and work out. So you're starting all the way over again. You're going to go back to square one. So learn the proper technique first. When you're a newbie, first starting out, just getting started, go ahead and learn it, and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble down the road. You'll save yourself from getting injured. Don't try to ego lift, do way too much weight that you know you can't do. You always want to make sure you're using proper form when you're doing any lifting technique. Always use the right form, because it can lead to injury. And then the last little quick tip is just listen to your body. Your body will tell you how it's feeling. If you experience pain or discomfort during any assessment, stop immediately and seek some kind of guidance before going any further. You don't want to get injured from the get-go before you ever get started, or you may not be performing it correctly, so you need somebody to help you out so they can let you know what you're doing wrong and set you on the right path. And then what you want to do from here on out is, along your fitness journey, you want to perform regular assessments. So every few months, every year, however long you want to do it, perform another assessment so you can compare your results to see how much progress you're actually making. And then once you get your new results, you can adjust your workout routine from there. So if your results improve, then hey, you may need to change some up in your workout, make it a little bit harder. Add some weight here, add a rep here, add a set there. things like that. This way, we're always getting results. Progressive overload, that's the key. You don't want to get stagnant, you don't want to hit a plateau. So keep performing these self assessments every so often. I would say every 3 months or so. That's how it takes a while to see some pretty big results. Every few months, take them, compare your results, write them down, put them in the notes in your phone, whatever you have to do. And this way you can make sure you're constantly making progress. So that's going to bring us to the next thing that we want to do after doing a self assessment. We want to go and get a professional assessment or a health check. Before embarking on any fitness journey, it's crucial to prioritize your health and well being. So, consulting a healthcare professional is recommended. I know most people want to just skip this step, they don't think it's necessary. They just want to hop in the gym and do all the workouts that they've been seeing online. And hey, I totally get that. I'm the same way. I just went to the doctor for the first time in probably 15 years the other day. And I'm glad I did because I found some things that were wrong that I'm going to have to fix. And I would have never known that if I would have never went and got checked out. But you especially want to get a health check if you have pre-existing health conditions. If you have any kind of health concerns in the past or anything currently, you definitely want to get checked out before you do any physical fitness, anything like that. So here's a guide for getting a health check before starting your fitness journey. Number one, do a medical history review. So the task is to compile all your medical history documents, like chronic diseases, chronic pain, any kind of chronic condition, past surgeries, medications, and even allergies. And then also another thing you can do is just make sure you're up to date on all your vaccinations and things like that. You should be good here if you're starting to finish journey, but just in case. Number two, pre-existing conditions. So your task is to identify any chronic condition. You want to be aware of these, such as cardiovascular issues, diabetes, respiratory conditions, or any muscular disorders. If you have any of these existing health concerns, you obviously want to consult your healthcare professional and get any recommendation that they may have before embarking on a fitness journey. Lifting weights, pushing your body to its limits, high intensity workouts, things like that. Consult with your primary care physician or relevant specialist to understand how exercise might affect or impact those pre existing conditions. Number three, you want to get a physical examination. So, just like you used to back in high school when you played sports, you want to schedule a routine physical examination with your healthcare provider. You want to do a blood pressure check, monitor your blood pressure to ensure that it falls within a healthy range. And you also want to do a heart rate assessment. Assess your resting heart rate and discuss irregularities that you have with your healthcare professional. Number four, you want to do a fitness assessment. So, this is basically what we hit on earlier with doing the self assessment. That brings us back to your cardiovascular assessment, your flexibility assessment, and your muscular / physical fitness assessment that we hit on earlier. So, we won't go into detail about that one. Number five, medication and exercise interaction. So, what you want to do is review your medications. This is important because physical fitness exercise may have an impact on the medications that you're taking. You want to discuss any medications that you're taking with your healthcare provider so that you get a good understanding of any potential interactions with exercise that may happen when you first start working out. And then adjust these medications if necessary. So, if it's necessary, your healthcare provider should suggest to you that an adjustment to your medication may be needed, or they may suggest certain guidelines or rules that you need to follow to cooperate with the medication that you're taking. Number six, lifestyle factors. So, lifestyle factors are your dietary considerations and your sleep patterns. You want to discuss your dietary habits and any adjustments that are needed to support your fitness goals. Also, assess your sleep patterns and discuss any strategies for improving your sleep patterns if necessary. That leads us to number seven, mental health check. You want to assess your stress levels and your mental well-being. Discuss these two things with your doctor. Let them know what's going on. Let them know what's going through your mind so that he can do a little mental checkup on you. But the good thing about this is physical activity can actually improve your mental health. It can help you out, it can relieve stress. It's mainly going to have positive impacts on you, but it's still important to address these things with your doctor to address any existing concerns that you may have or that the doctor may have. Number eight, get some good recommendations and guidelines from your doctor. They should have some good recommendations for you. You want to get exercise recommendations and you want to get some guidelines for intensity levels. How hard should you go? And maybe there's some things that you should stay away from. Based off of your health assessment, your healthcare provider may give you some exercise recommendations, and you want to make sure to discuss appropriate exercise intensity because you don't want to go too hard, but then again, you want to go hard enough to be able to push yourself to actually see results. This way, you can still push yourself enough to see results, but you don't want to overdo it and go a little too far. We'll build our way up to there eventually. And last but not least, you want to have a follow up plan. Schedule a follow up with your healthcare provider. If necessary, you want to schedule these follow up meetings to measure your progress and make any adjustments to your fitness plan that's needed. If he sees that you're improving, he may want to change your workout plan up a little bit or change your intensity levels, vice versa. The healthcare provider will have a good idea of what you should or shouldn't do. So going and get regular checkups, regular follow-ups is a good idea in the long run. But remember, safety is paramount. Consulting with a healthcare professional can provide valuable insights into creating a fitness plan that aligns with your health status and your goals. Always, always, always follow their recommendations and listen to your body. And that rule applies throughout your whole entire fitness journey. And those are the two assessments that I highly recommend that you do when you're first starting out on your fitness journey. It's crucial that you do these. I know they don't seem very important because they don't overall impact your results, but you're going to be glad that you did them when you're first starting out because you may realize something that you wouldn't have realized if you would have never did the assessment, or your healthcare provider may be able to find something or prevent you from hurting yourself in the future. So I highly recommend doing these assessments before starting out because the self assessment will give you a good idea where you're starting. And then the healthcare check will prevent anything from happening in the future. It'll give you a better idea of what you can do and what you can't do. And then by doing both of these assessments, you can track your progress over time. So it's a win win situation. So why not do it? I suggest you do it. So that's going to do it for episode 3 of the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Fitness. Tune in next week for episode 4, where we're going to go over choosing the right activities for you to do in your fitness journey based off what your goals are. But if you missed episode 2, where we talked about setting goals in your fitness journey, you're going to want to watch that right here.